All right, so since the outbreak of COVID-19 in Jamaica, the entertainment, much like tourism, took a hard hit. Parties and events were cancelled and not permitted, which is the reason they were cancelled. That was almost a year ago. How has this affected our economy and companies who rely on this industry to survive? Zooming in with us to have this discussion, Jaria and Jaria Reggae Month Committee Chairman. I call him Sam Sharp, but Solomon is the Chief Executive Officer of Main Events. Sam Sharp, what going?
Morning.
All is well, my friend?
Unprecedented times.
Yeah. Main Events, you do a whole lot of work, or did a whole lot of work, and I suspect you still have some work to do, but how has it affected Main Events by itself?
It has affected us significantly, but I'm not really worried about Main Event. I'm worried about the 400 and something people in our ecosystem. I'm worried about all the people out there in the whole entertainment ecosystem that have been affected. So it's not about me. We worked very hard. We built a business. We have actual reserves to live on. It won't last very long, but it's the people in the ecosystem that's what's most important.
Yeah, Sala.
We're talking about lives. Yes.
No, I'm so sorry. I don't want to cut you. Go ahead and finish your point.
Yeah, we're talking about lives and livelihoods here. So it's not Main Event, the entity now. Main Event, the entity was built from scratch. It can be rebuilt, and it has some reserves. But again, it's the people.
Yeah. So Scott came out the other day. We're talking about this largely in light of that article. He spoke to the fact that he's had to do one of his signature events in Miami. He received a lot of support for that article, but also a lot of flack from people who are saying, how can you be calling for entertainment and party in the middle of this thing? You know Jamaicans can't be responsible about it. How do you expect us to do it responsibly? You are irresponsible. Tell me a little bit about what those 400 and odd people that you reference, your company and others are facing at this time, and what it is that you're asking for in particular. Because to reduce it to we want party for keep, I think is not quite what you all are saying, and I think it's a good opportunity to clarify what the industry is asking for.
So we're talking about industry, and again, to build an industry, you need people, right? And the government, depending on what figures they want to choose, will understand the amount of the significant impact that the industry plays, right? We're talking about the artists, we're talking about just the people that work behind the scenes. You're in a TV studio right now, and persons are looking on both of you and saying, wow, that's what it takes. But there are about 50 people running around in that studio right now trying to make things happen. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the people behind the scenes. And to say that Jamaican people are, to broad brush and say that we're irresponsible, I think that's untrue, because at Cayman and Spark, we've been running for 6 months now. And it shows that, I came here with my mask on this morning. It shows that when we are serious and when we're given certain rules, for the most part, we will abide by them, and we'll abide by the protocols. Those persons that Scott might be out of just pure frustration. You're trying to serve the people and you can't. So in Miami or in Tampa or wherever we are, most of those persons that are coming to party and are partying responsibly are Jamaicans. But we're not talking about party. People keep talking about party it's all about about this whole thing in a frivolous manner and all that kind of thing. We're talking about what can we do and how can we bring structure. Real life still happens. People still go on a bus. People still go in a supermarket. People still have to move around. How can we move around in big, open, safe spaces? I was very concerned. A colleague of mine called me once and said, hey, isn't it time for us to start making safe venues? I said, where are these safe venues going to be? I said, tomorrow morning we make a safe venue. You hear that it's an uptown thing, it's a downtown thing. We have to come together as Jamaica and establish that we are going to create some new boundaries. It's a new way of living. People come through the airport and we don't hear people getting infected. We don't hear that the airport workers are just falling down like flies. So there are ways and means of getting this thing done, but we all need to meet at the table. And some of the same persons that might be commented on social media don't even realize that they're benefiting from this industry directly and indirectly. So what we want the government to,
yes,
we don't want a handout. I don't want any handout from the government. We want the government to get this vaccine program going so we can build some immunity and we can move on with life. Because we have to live with this thing. We all got vaccinated when we were kids. Let's get vaccinated and let's get moving.
So is it that you have not yet met with the government? Have you not already done this? And is it what you're saying is that the government hasn't been responsive? What are you waiting for from the government? Is it the protocols? Is it what are you waiting on next? What's the next set of steps? Because I know the entertainment industry has been asking for months. We want to sit at the table. We want to come up with some kind of common resolve to what is going on so people can live. Is it that you're not getting the kind of response that you want? Or any response at all, for that matter?
I look on it different from most other persons. I'm not waiting for a protocol. Establishing a protocol is very easy. I personally been sitting down being responsible, trying to keep my team safe, trying to keep my family safe, and trying to understand what this thing is all about. Everywhere else, the rest of the world right now is going through their whole vaccine programs. We want to get our vaccine program and we want to be able to gradually rebuild this industry. But we can't wait 9 more months. This industry is going to be wiped out. If this industry is wiped out, our economy stands to get wiped out. And there are other things that we're going to have to worry about then. So I think now is the time. Everybody has waited. Somebody asked me, how long am I prepared to lock down for? I told them I think it up until about January. Well, now it's January. Now it's time to move. Now it's time to act. We have been responsible. We have stayed in the background, and we have done what is to be asked of us. A lot of those parties and events that people are talking about that are were not approved, we don't operate like that. We operate in a very structured manner. I have 400 and something employees. So does and the rest of my industry. When you look at what's going on in tourism, there's just a complete fallout. So we're talking about thousands of persons that have been dislocated from jobs and a livelihood. How are we going to rebuild that? And we have to start just from baby stages where we learn to building blocks and start from this one block and move up. But Solomon, now it's time.
Sorry to jump in, Solomon, but all right, let's say you get the go-ahead. How can you safely keep a party function? How can you safely do that with obviously you would want 5,000, 10,000 people there. How can you safely do that?
Well, it's an assembly of persons. So if we looked at the National Stadium and we parallel what is going on in the rest of the world, there are persons that are going to get infected. And there is no trace to say that persons got infected at one of these big events. The stadium, for argument's sake, can hold 10,000 persons or 30,000 persons, for argument's sake. So let's start at having only 5,000 people there, and we will rebuild. We establish protocols. It's all very easy. You set up wash stations, you set up sanitizers. Anything that happens in the airport, in the supermarket, in all these other safe zones. So it's very easy to set up these safe zones. We just have to come together as a people. And what we need at this point now is some leadership. I'm ready to put my hat in the ring. I have practiced this for the last 9 months at Cayman Park, from the lockdown to the rebirth of racing in June 20. And we have done a great job. But we have a bubble at Cayman Park. We have 200 acres.
Let me jump in again, Sam, because we're running out of time. 5,000 people probably wouldn't be in a supermarket at once. So it is still a question to have
Yeah, but
5,000.
we're not saying that we need to get to 5,000 people. You know, there are skills. There's hardly any event that would have happened with 5,000 people anyway. So, I mean, getting 500 persons, right, in 10,000 square feet, you know, people start to get lost. So, and then everybody has on their masks, the proper social distancing, the proper sanitizing. We've seen many pictures on the internet when you can establish squares. But if you're going to move forward and establish these squares and these safe zones and all of that kind of thing, someone has to, in leadership, has to be able to accept we have to try something. We cannot sit down. We have sat down long enough and we've been patient. Now it's time for all of us to act. And we have to move in one collective movement. The unfortunate thing is that the industry is a little bit segmented and we're not like tourism that's represented by the CHTA or the JHTA and all of these kind of organized movements. So if I have an event, you're going to hear that I am main event, but I could say, well, I am main event and I deserve to be able to move forward. I pay taxes and I do this and I do that, but I'm not coming here with that. We need to move together and we're going to rebuild for everybody to eat a food, as everybody wants to say, but I need to get my staff and their staff and their families back up and running. And that's what I'm all about.
So Solomon, is that something that you're looking to say, if willing to throw your hat in the ring? You know, that segmented nature will not augur well for the approach that you are suggesting. Are you willing to move to pull the different players in the industry together, theatre, party, all the different elements of entertainment that are suffering, and see if you can lobby as one body?
Solomon Sharp is here out on this morning, and I'm ready.
All right. We have Abishai with us also. Morning, Mr. Hoylett.
Morning, everybody. Morning, Jamaica.
Everything all right?
Yeah, well, we're giving thanks. It's the first day of Reggae Month, so we're glad for that.
Yeah.
Dennis Brown's birthday as well, so we're giving thanks for that. But as the discussion with Solomon just pointed out, the industry is also hurting. So as we prepare to celebrate Reggae Month, we want to use the time to kind of draw some attention to that. We understand, as everybody is saying, that there's no easy answers. You know, on one side of it, we have an industry where people need to eat, literally, and are hurting, haven't worked in over a year. And on the next side of it, we have the health issue and the whole fact that this pandemic is real. And so I don't think anybody in the entertainment industry is trying to be unreasonable, but we want to have some discussion around it and see where we can come to a middle ground. Because we know that it's not impossible. As Solomon said, there are things that we can put in place to make it work. And we just want to come to the table and find the solutions together. You know what I mean? But excited about Reggae Month nonetheless. We are celebrating this year JARIA, the Jamaica Reggae Industry Association. We're hosting a lot of events virtually. So we're looking forward to that. And as I said, we're looking forward to inviting the world to celebrate with us while at the same time we continue the lobbying efforts to try and get something started.
Let me ask if you think you need to make those lobbying efforts a little bit more public, because one of the things I hear people say, and I see reflected in social, is people saying, why doesn't somebody put forward a solid plan? When you say there are things to make it work, is it that enough members of the public are not aware of those things? Have you laid out those things to the powers that be? Have you put a case together to say, this is how we think it can move forward and be sustainable and safe? Has that been done?
Yeah, the process has started. And as you even alluded to with Scott and the work from Kamal, the guys at Dream, they've actually presented a written proposal. Outside of that, we have had several talks. But you alluded
where are
to
you with that
something
before
earlier.
you get there? The plan has been submitted and talks are afoot. Any updates for us? How is that going?
No updates at the time. And like they have said also in their pronouncements, we don't want this to come across as we're trying to attack the ministers, whether it be the health minister, the Ministry of Culture. It's not that. We just want to invite a conversation so we can get things moving for the people in our industry who are hurting. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Like Solomon said, it's not about the big artist who is touring all the time. It's more about that little musician who his work was the 3 gigs for the month at church, and then he would pick up a 2 studio gigs and things like that. That's no longer happening. And so we want to lobby for things like that, you know. And as we say, we're not trying to put anybody on the spot. It's more about finding the solutions together that we can come out of this on the good end. And so, yeah, like you said, it's a lot of work, but I think part of it where I agree with you is the knowledge, and some of the responsibility is definitely on us to help the public understand where we're coming from, and also to present a plan to them that makes everyone feel comfortable, or a majority of the people feel comfortable.
Right.
We're definitely not avoiding the facts of the matter. You know, COVID is a serious thing, the pandemic is a serious thing, and we want to approach it in that way, but at the same time, keep our livelihood going.
Can I get one more in before we go? I know we have to go. Salah, let me come back to you. This is my final question for you. Folks will say you guys put all the protocols in place, or the plans in place to have a smooth transition to whatever this new normal in the entertainment sector is going to look like. How do you ensure compliance? Because I think a part of the issue is that some of your folks in entertainment have made it bad for those of you who are trying to do it the right way. Because they're doing it the wrong way still, like nothing now go on, and that has put a kind of bad filter on those of you who want to do it the right way. So how do you ensure? People are going to say, of course, then put it in place, but when people go in, you're going to see everything start fall apart, and how will you ensure that there is compliance with what you institute?
Let's put it this way. That now creates another opportunity. That now creates more employment. When you go to overseas, we like to talk about overseas, right? When you go to overseas events and these stadiums, there are several persons there at the football games on the sideline. There are stewards. They're ensuring that nobody comes on the field. It's not just a security situation or whatever. So here's another opportunity for some stewards now to be on an event. So unfortunately, you know, you used to have a promo person, a promo girl, a promo guy, you know, have stewards, safety stewards who are ensuring that the protocols are met. And that's what we do at Cayman's Park. We have these safety stewards that walk around. We have a span of land, and we only have 1,200 persons there at the park when we're having a live event for horse racing. And it has worked out fabulously. But here was an established venue. Now, to establish new venues, we all have to come together, and the rest of the nation needs not to come down on us and to say that they are privileged why that event space is approved there and it was not approved there. We all have to rebuild from scratch. My first event that I kept as a promoter 20-something years ago had 400 persons, and it was great. And then it grew to 5,000 or 6,000. So it has to start somewhere, and we can start somewhere, and we need to just get people back moving. We need to get some hope, and we are a resilient people, but we're getting tired, we're getting a little frustrated, and the fatigue is starting to set in. So I think the time is now. We've been patient and we've been waiting. It's not parties that has created this pandemic. It's not parties that have created this spread. Now, locking down certain events as what has been recommended to shut down, but we still see the numbers climbing. So what is going on? Obviously, something is still not right. So we just need to get everybody to the table. As Abishai said, it's not about attacking any minister. At no point did I ever call a minister or a ministry this morning. I am saying, as a people of Jamaica, we have to come together. We have to look at all of these industries. Maybe we have to bring more formality to this industry, because this industry is super important, not just the main event, but to Jamaica.
I have to jump in, my friend, because we have to go. We have news coming up. Good to see you. And Abhishek, good to see you. Yell up the old man for me, see?
Yeah, give thanks. Yeah.
All right. Solomon Sharp, Chief Executive Officer of Main Events, and Nabishai Hoylat, Artist Manager, and Jaria Reggae Month Committee Chairman.